welcome back to my channel. I'm really sorry I haven't been around much just lately. I haven't really been feeling particularly crafty, if I'm honest, so I've been doing the things that I've committed to, but not a lot else. So I did yesterday, excuse me while I sip my coffee, I did yesterday decide to have a big sort out in the craft room and have a bit of a rearrange, a bit of a reorganisation, because that quite often makes me feel a bit more inspired, and it did. It's my sister's birthday this week, so I'm creating a card to pop in the post, and I thought I might as well hop on and show you what I'm creating. I've got a bit of a plan, but nothing too specific. I've got this really lovely wood grained effect patterned paper that's just come out of a paper pad, and I've just taken a piece of A4 card, folded it in half, and I'm going to make a little panel from the wood grain that's going to go on there. I've got out a stamp, just a texty type stamp, any text stamp will do. I've got this little piece of ephemera that I've cut out. My sister loves Bambis, deers, so I found that in amongst all my stuff and thought that would make a perfect image. And then I've grabbed out a couple of die sets for flowers, and I'm going to make a few flowers as well. So to start with, I need to cut the panel down to be the right size, so I don't measure because I'm lazy fundamentally. So I'm just going to put a little mark on there. I'm going to bring the old, oops, I'm going to hit everything as I do it. Bring the cutter in and try and see where I made that mark. Ooh, that's good. That's the only problem with this dark wood grain paper. Can't actually see where I've made the mark. Try again. Oh, I can see it now, yeah. Now I can see it. So roughly about there. So that strip won't go to waste. I will pop that in the scraps bin. I like wood grain effect papers. I do use them quite a bit, so I always save every scrap. So that will sit on there like that. It might want just a touch more. I'll just grab my other. I like my Fiscus trimmer for precision because obviously you've got the wire, but if you want to take a very thin sliver off, you can't beat a guillotine type cutter. So it'll take off a really small strip without fraying the cardstock and shredding up the card. So let's try that. Still wants a little bit more. I obviously measured that one really accurately. Not. Try again. That'll do. That'll do. Right, I'll move that out of the way. Okay, so my sort of idea is I'm going to have my wood grain effect here, and I'm going to do some stamping and heat embossing on there just to give a bit of texture and a bit of interest in that background. I'm then going to do like a floral cluster, which I'm going to tuck my little Bambi into, and I'll find a happy birthday thing in my stash, and then I'll just put something inside with a happy birthday in there. So that's the plan. So first things first, as always, I will need to ink the edges of everything because, you know, it's what I do. It's what I do. So, just got a little bit of vintage photo just to cover up the raw edges. And I like vintage photo because it brings a bit of warmth in. It's quite a warm brown, I find. And just that little bit of it coming in around the edge, I always really like. So it's not much, but it's just enough to make pieces feel finished for me. It might not be the same for everybody, obvs, but it is for me. So I'm just going to flick around the edges of all of this. There you go. Beautiful. Okay. So then I'm not going to stick down to the card base just yet. I'm going to move the card base and my little Bambi off to one side, and we'll concentrate on doing this. So I've got just a cheap pigment ink. It's a white pigment ink. It probably won't be very pigmented, but we'll give it a go. It's really hard to get. You can't get the, I think that, is it Unicorn? I can't remember who makes it, but I think that's supposed to be the best white pigment ink there is. But you can't get it in the UK, or if you can, it'll be from one of the really expensive shops. So I've just bought a cheap white one, and we'll see how we go. I'm going to heat emboss it anyway, and I don't actually want it to be too perfect, so it's okay for this project. But we'll see how pigmented it is. This is the Dovecraft one. I just picked it up from the range. So I've got a stamping block here, which isn't actually big enough. Bear with. Okay, I'm back. I've got the platform. So I'll put my card base in here. So I want it this way around because then you'll still see the knot, whereas if I put it up the other way, it might get hidden by the floral cluster. And I can't put my magnets there because that's the bit where I really want to get the text. So I'm going to put my stamp sort of there. No, I'm lying. I'm not. I'm going to put it... See? Not organised. No plan. I'm going to put it like that. We'll see what it turns out like. Look, perfectionist in me. Stop. Doesn't need to be perfect. I have to tell myself that over and over. Okay, so we'll pop on some of this pigment ink. Now, pigment ink or the clear ink, the Versamark, is the best ink to heat emboss with because it stays wet for longer. So I'm not applying too much pressure because that will make your stamp sort of splay out, and particularly if you're using acrylic and not photopolymer. If you just hold it on for a bit, it'll transfer the ink without you needing to press too hard. So you can see that it's not the most opaque ink in the world, but for the purposes that I want it for, it will be fine. Okay, so get my piece of paper out, ready. Scrap of paper, and I'm going to use this Paper Mania Seafoam white embossing powder. I like it because it's not bright white, it's an off-white. Yeah. So move the stamp press up and out of the way. That's looking quite cool. Now obviously I need to get the embossing powder on before this dries. So I'm just going to chuck that all on and then tap it all off. And that's what we're left with, which I am loving. And then I'm just going to pop all my embossing powder back in my, like so. And then I need to give this a heat emboss. So I won't make you go through the noise of that because it's horrendous. Back shortly. Okay, so I have now heat embossed and heat set that. So obviously that will now stay. Now, as you can see, it's not, well, you would see if my camera would focus, it's not perfect. There are some splotches and things, but that's the way I wanted it. So I could have taken those off with a paintbrush before I heat embossed it if I'd wanted to. But like I say, I quite like the sort of slightly blurred, slightly marked look of this. If you wanted all your text to be really legible and perfect, then you would want to use a super fine embossing powder rather than, this is just a standard embossing powder. But like I say, because I just wanted it as background, I don't mind that it's not perfect. So I'm just going to go around the edges of that with a bit of the vintage photo. Now obviously it'll wipe off of the embossing ink because it sort of acts as a resist, but it just will give that illusion of light towards the centre there. So it's almost sort of spotlighting on the centre there, like that. Lovely. I'm liking that. Okay, so shall we put it down on the card next? Now that I've done, I don't think I want to add anything more to that. I think that's enough. So let's pop some tape on there. Have we got enough on here? Probably not, but we will see. We might just, oh, look at that. I was just about to say we might just be in luck. And then it ran out. Obs. Right. Okay, that's another thing I haven't got any more of. Some cheap stuff, that'll do. We've got some on that'll keep it down. I'll put a little bit of wet glue on as well, just so that I've got a bit of wiggle room. Grab my pick. So I'll just take the tape off. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, wet glue. So I do always use a little bit of wet glue. One, because I'm not overly convinced about tape's longevity, although in a card it doesn't really matter much because, you know, it's not made to last forever. But I would like it to last the journey to my sister's. That would be cool. Okay. And then I'm just going to, again, there's no, you know, it's not going to be dead accurate. It's just, yeah, that looks about right. And stick it on, really. So that's that. I'm just going to get a wipe and just wipe the vintage photo off of there, because otherwise we're going to end up with brown all over the back of our card, and that's not a good look. I'll just give it a bit of a dry. There we go. Okay. So I can also use this bit of kitchen roll just to rub off anything that's sitting on top of that embossing powder, the heat emboss, because look, you've got that. And again, you don't want that to just sort of come off onto the other bits of the card while you're working on it. So there we go. So that's what we've got so far. And so now I want to make the floral cluster that's going to go round the side there. So I've got a few different dies. I've got these ones which I would like to have a play with. And I've got these ones. So I think what I'll do, to save you all the boredom, I will actually cut them. I've also got some greenery bits. These are ones that I sort of keep on there. I've got some shelves and I've got a magnetic sheet stuck to the side of it, and I tend to keep some favourite greenery ones on the side there because I cut them quite frequently. So what I'll do is I'll go and cut some. I think I'm going to do, looking at my lovely little deer, she's got these beautiful blue flowers, so I think I'm going to go for blues, creams and greens. So I'm going to go and cut some, but I will come back and show you the shaping technique. Okay, so I'm back. So I have made this pretty little blue sparkly flower. So we'll make another one. And I've just started making the cream ones as well, but I thought we'd finish them all off together. So I cut some greenery and I've done a little bit of shaping on those. So I've just inked around the edges on this one. And all I'm going to do on this, give it a quick squirt of water. And with the larger of the nail dotting tools on every single leaf, I'm just going to pull down from the tip of the leaf all the way into the stem. Just being careful not to break, to sort of tear or break anything as I do it. Now I did tear one of the flowers as I took it out of the die earlier, but I'm still going to use it, and I've actually saved that one to show you how I'm going to save it. There we go. So it's now got a little bit of life to it, and I'm just going to go and in certain points, just to sort of push it back down to make it easier to stick it to the project, I just give it a little tap, and there we go. It's just got a little bit more life to it now. It's not quite as flat as it was obviously when it was a flat piece of paper. So for these ones, all I've done is I've cut the 3 different sizes, and as you can see, this is the one that I tore as I took it out the die. So I've already started with that one, but I will show you very quickly how I did it. So I've just got some alcohol markers. This one happens to be a Spectrum Noir, and I'm going to, from the middle outwards, just flick a bit of the ink like so, just like that. And I'm going to do the same on the ones that I broke. As you can see, I'm not being particularly neat about it. You won't see it over much once it's finished anyway. It just gives a bit of, again, interest and colour. You've got to excuse my hands because they are really inky, because I've been playing with ink already. Okay. Then I've got a lighter one, which you don't actually end up seeing this one particularly, but it's just going to soften those lines, because the lighter the alcohol ink, the higher the alcohol content in them, the higher the sort of blending solution, and it'll just bleach out some of that darker blue slightly and just make it bleed a little bit and just make it look a little bit more natural. So I'm just going to give all of these a quick go. There we go, like so. Right, so once I've done that, I need to just give them a bit of shape, and I'm going to shape these while they're still in the 2 broken parts. Now whenever I shape flowers, I do give them a quick spritz of water, and I just find that that helps them to keep their shape once the petals have dried. So I'm going to take this, which is, it's actually, I got it off of AliExpress. It's a zit tool, a zit removing tool. I bought a few of them. They're just like the loop tools that you get in the really expensive flower shaping kits. So I just, I bought a few. And all I'm doing is I'm pushing the loop into the petal and pulling it again down towards the centre. Just 3 or 4 times on each petal, like so. And then same on this one, like so. And I'm going to do it on this one. So these ones, the blue ones I've done, I'm using the same size petals, so 3 of the same size flower petals in each flower. Obviously you can do, you know, that's the beauty of making your own flowers. You can do them in lots of different ways. So you could, I could have done a large petal, a medium petal and a small petal in each flower. But I've opted to go for 3 different sizes. So once I've done that, I'm going to flip them all over and just push them down in the centre there. And all that does is it just makes your petals stand up a little bit more, and I'm going to do that again even on the broken ones, and then I'm going to dry them. Now you can just leave them to dry naturally, or you can dry them in the heat tool. I've got an old, well, it was a new saucepan. My daughter wanted to go to uni and then ended up living at home in the last year, so I stole it off of her, and I just dry everything in there, because obviously with it being metal it'll dry quicker, it can whip round in the bowl, and it stops me from burning myself. So I'll just give these a dry and I'll be back. Okay. So they're pretty much dry now. So now I'm left with obviously the 3 pieces, but obviously this one broke. But that's okay. I'm just going to add it in, and I'm going to add it as the middle layer, and then you won't really notice that it was broken. So all I'm going to do is offset it from the bottom layer, and I'm just going to push those in, and then I'm going to take the other 2 petals that broke off, and I'm going to push those in down where they would have sat, like that. And all I need to make sure of is that the hole at the centre of the flower remains clear, because obviously I'm going to use that to put my stamens in. If you weren't putting stamens in, you wouldn't even need to worry about that. Then I'm going to take the top layer, and I'm going to just pop a bit of glue on there. And again, I'm going to try and offset it from the layer below. And again, make sure that we've got that hole visible. So this is the bit that I find the trickiest. Trying to get everything to sit where it should and be offset, because I tend to find when I go to push it down, it'll move position. There we go. So there we've got that. Right, so now I need to put my stamen in. I'm just using these really tiny, if you can see those, 1mm pearlised cream stamens. Again, I got them off of Ali. I've got tons and tons of different colours because they're really cheap. I'm just going to fold them in half, give them a snip. I like to have an odd number, so I'll take one out. And then I've got this other, again, this is a zit tool, but this has got like a sharp point on one end and then a thinner, smaller loop on the other. So you can get the different types. This one I tend to use for putting my stamen in. So all I'm going to do is stab it into my mat, push my flower hole through that loop, and then I'm going to thread my stamens through the loop on there, like so. I do this because otherwise I get really frustrated trying to get the stamens in. She says getting really frustrated because the stamens won't go in. Like that. I find it easier to thread them through here than I do threading through the actual flower, because I can sort of pull back on the flower and the stamen on this and make more space in that loop. Once they're all on like that, just make sure I've got them all through the loop. Do you know, it never goes as smoothly when you're on camera. Okay, then I'm going to take that out the mat and I'm just going to pull and wriggle like so until the ends of those stamens start popping through. And I've just pulled a stamen through. Drat. Okay, not to worry. Let's see if I can get it back in. So the stamens are a bit fiddly, as you can no doubt tell. I'm just going to leave that one out. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of glue on the back there, like so. And I'm just going to leave that for a moment and let that dry, and then we'll come back to it. For these ones, all I've done is ink around the edge. I'm using scattered straw to give it that slightly sort of yellowy, creamy look. I sometimes use antique linen, but that one's very subtle on this cardstock, and I want something a little bit more obvious this time. Then all I'm going to do again is turn them all over, give them all a quick spritz with my water, and then with a bigger ball tool I'm just going to come in and shape all of these petals like so. And this is just sort of getting it started, stretching the fibre, making the paper more pliable and easier to use, like so. There you go. And then I'm going to swap down to a smaller one, and again I'm just gonna, and all I'm doing is getting some wrinkles in there, getting some texture in there, changing the shape, distorting the shape of the petal slightly, which will just give it a slightly more natural look, and obviously give it that sort of 3D shape. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to take the nail dotting tool. Again, if it needed any further, this one's got a slightly smaller ball on it again so you can sort of pull through. But I'm going to use the very small one to draw a line from the tip of the petal all the way down to meet the hole at the bottom, like so. And what that's going to do is create this ridge that we've got in this one here. So you can see that that's got that lovely sort of veined ridge down the centre of the petal. So I'm going to do that on all of the petals, like so, and then I'll give them a dry and I'll come back to you. Okay, so now that they're all dry, and this is dry, we can finish off the blue one. So I've got some diamond dust, which is the chunky sort of German glass glitter, and all I'm going to do is on this flower, I'm not thinking about it, I'm just chucking on some dabs of the tacky glue here and there, and then I'm just going to dip my flower, tap it on the side, and then there you can see we've got all this gorgeous glitter on the flower. And obviously as that PVA dries, you will end up with a really beautiful flower. And now that the glue on the back is dry, I can trim off the excess, and there you go. So I'll pop that one over to one side to dry while we just do these ones. Put the lid back on my glitter before we end up with that all over the table. So then we've got these ones, and I thought these were quite cute, with a larger flower and a smaller flower. Now I don't need to be quite so cautious about these ones because I'm not putting stamen in them, so I don't need to keep that centre hole clear, so I can actually use a bit of hot glue for these. So all I'm going to do is blob a little bit of hot glue in the centre there, bring in one of the petals and just push that down. There we go. So I'm going to do that for all 4 flowers. Get my glue gun working properly. Just making you shake and rock and roll. I need to try and think of a better way of securing my camera. I need a better camera. I don't know. I'm not sure anybody watches all the way to the end anyway, so. Okay, let's pop these in, like so. And even with the hot glue, you do have a couple of seconds to mess about with the final placement. And then I've got these. They're actually some sort of jewellery finding. If I can find them, I will link them. Again, I got them from AliExpress. They're really cheap. Like I say, I think they are actually jewellery finding, but I think they make excellent stamen. So that's obviously what I bought them for. So I'm just a little bit of a hot glue on the centre of that. And again, I'm just going to push it down. Now, because they're quite thin metal, you can actually shape these a little bit. So you can push the stameny bits up a little bit so that they'll sit better in the centre of your flower. So, like that. There we go. Now I probably won't use all of these on this project, but there you go. I've made a few. Flip that upside down like so. There we go. And you could put a little half pearl or something in the centre of those if you want. I might do once I get them on the card. I think I'll probably wait and see what it's like. I also found in my stash some of these. Again, they're just from Ali, little stamen bundles with the different types of stamen and a little bit of greenery. I thought they might suit this card quite nicely. So that's my flowers and my greenery. So we'll bring the card back in like that, and there we are. So it has bowed a little bit, but that's okay. I'll just give it a little bend. So now I need to decide how I'm going to place everything. So for this, I just really have a play, if I'm honest, and I just start laying down some of the stuff that I've got, like that. And just sort of auditioning it really to see how I like it to look. Before I stick anything down, because obviously once you've stuck it down, it is much harder to move it about. So I need something down the bottom there for the happy birthday. It's going to be a bit of something like that, but I need to work out what I'm going to put down the bottom there. So I'm just going to go have a quick look in my stash and see what I've got. Okay, so I found this nice little happy birthday that I've heat foiled on the Go Press and Foil before. So I'm just using some of that scattered straw ink that's left on the sponge from making the flowers, just because this is white and obviously everything else is slightly off white. So just by making the edges not quite so bright white, it will just tone it down a little bit, and that's much better. That's much more what I'm looking for. I've also just grabbed my box with flowers that I've made previously, because whenever I make things, if I don't use them all on a project, I bung them in that box, and then they come in handy at some point. So I'm liking that, but I'm thinking I probably want my little deer to be stood up on something, so I'm going to pop some card pieces, some of my little cat food card pieces on the back. So I'll just do that and I'll come back because you don't want to see me gluing bits of card on. Okay, so I've popped some cardboard on the back of her. I've left her legs without any because I actually want them to go flat onto the paper, and then I'm going to pop the sentiment over the top, which again I've popped up on card. So whilst I've sort of roughly got the flowers in position, I think what I will do is position these two and get them stuck down, because then I know where I sort of want my flowers to be around that sort of thing. So I think that's about right for her. So I'm going to get that one glued down, like so. Gonna pull the grotty old glue on the glue gun there, and then like so. And then so I don't burn myself, I'm just going to use a little bit of wet glue on her legs, like so. Okay, I'm going to push those down, and then I want my sentiment to just sit over the top like that. So I'm just going to pop some hot glue on the back there, like so. And I'm going to position that how I like it, making sure that it's reasonably straight. There we go. Like that. I don't want it hanging off the edge because obviously this needs to be able to fit into the envelope to be posted. It won't go for a standard stamp because obviously it's quite dimensional, but that's okay. I don't mind paying a little bit extra because it's my sister and I love her and she's worth it. Okay, so I'm now going to start sort of positioning where I want my flowers and things. So I think I'm going to go for my blue flowers, sort of central like that. Yeah, and then I'm going to stick my greenery in around it, tucking it in here and there. So you're just using hot glue to attach them. Again, hot glue is one of those things that's fine for a birthday card, you know, because I'm sure it won't be kept all that long. But if it was, hot glue, if it was anything, you know, like a memory book or anything like that, I'd be using a good wet glue, so that I've got some assurance that it will stand the test of time. Hot glue, I find, tends to come apart quite easily. It doesn't tend to last. Okay, so now I can start tucking the leaves and things in, and I'm actually just going to use some white glue for this because the tacky glue grabs quite quickly, but it will give me that little bit of time to manoeuvre it and hopefully stop me burning myself again. There you go. So I'm only gluing down the centre, so that I've got some, you know, movement still within the piece. I'm going to pop that one like so. And then I'm trying to decide where I want this one. I think I like that one like that, actually. So I'm going to just leave that for now because I might pop another flower over the top, and then obviously that will secure that one in place. So I really like with greenery when you've got left and right facing. So with both of these dies, I've got the left and the right facing of the die, and it just means that if you want to make a bit of a sort of a bow type effect, it's just that little bit easier. There we go. And maybe a bit in there like so. Okay. So I do faff for ages when I'm putting the floral clusters together. Like that, and like that. Right then. Now I've got these. I'm not actually sure if I'm going to use, we'll see. Just grab what I've got in my box over here. See what we've got in terms of flowers. So I've got these ones which are quite nice. So I'm going to put one of those down there. A blob of hot glue. Just push the card up a bit, it would help. And I'm going to push that down. And in doing that, it's helping to secure this greenery because obviously it's got the hot glued flower pinning it over the top. I'm going to do the same up the top. Put another one of those. A pearl missing off that one. Never mind. Maybe one there. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Right then, do I want those or those? So none of this greenery is actually stuck in place at the minute. So I've just popped a little bit of hot glue on that one, and I'm just going to tuck it in there and get that one to stick. All my spider webs. I'll just blow over it with the hot air gun once, the heat tool, once I've fully got everything where I want it, and that'll just get rid of all the strings and things. Like that. Attacked by the glue strings. Right, what else have we got? I've got another one of those ones actually. So they might be quite cute to pop in. Oh yeah, I like those. So again, just a blob of glue, pop it in there. Blob of glue, pop that one in there, like so. I feel like there's, well, what about some just white ones? What have we got here? Oh, they've got a little blue centre, so they'd match. If I just age them again a little bit with that scattered straw. And pop those in like that. Where's the other one? So it's not exactly the same top and bottom, but it's got the same flowers in and whatnot, so it balances each side out, which I always think is nice. Okay, now then, I have also got this little pot, which is all leaves and things that I've cut previously and then not used. So we could pop a few little sprigs and things in, but I'm not actually loving it. Let's see. Oh, that one's quite nice. I'll have that one. Like so. Have I got any more of those? No. Right. I think I want another one of those, but I'm going to cut another one of those and we'll see. Okay, so I've cut another couple of those. This is one of my favourite little greenery dies, actually. It just sort of seems to go with everything. Put a bit on the back there. It's another one of the ones that I sort of keep. I don't actually ever put it away because I'm getting it out every 5 minutes, so I just leave it on the side of my desk on the magnetic sheet thing. So just get that in. Again, I'm trying to get that. I want to be able to see it, but at the same time I don't want it to make it difficult to get it into the envelope. So it just gives a hint of greenery over on that side. The other thing that I've just grabbed out is these, which are like little foam, tiny foam ball things on grasses. They are actually natural grasses, I think. I bought them in Wilko's in town. There's a big, like, you got a big pack of them for £1. They're supposed to be for, you know, floral displays for at home, but obviously that's not what I use them for. Everything I buy with crafting in mind. Right, so I want to tuck one in up here, but obviously what the thing that's my limitation and the challenge is that things are already hot glued in, so obviously I can't just push into underneath the flowers necessarily, because if there's hot glue there it won't stick. So I just cut the stem on it shorter until it will actually stick. Oh, they might actually be plastic because that all melted slightly when I put the hot glue on it. Okay. So put another one on there. Yeah, they're definitely plastic. Very melty. Make sure that they stick in. And then similarly, I'm going to try and find somewhere down the bottom here. And again, it doesn't have to be an exact replica of up the top there, because that's not sort of the look I'm going for. I just want it to balance each side out. So, a bit of hot glue on there. And pop that one up. Just grab another one. Might be able to get that one up in there while the glue's still wet. Oops. like that. That's annoying me. They need another one each side. Not messed up together. That's all good. Yeah, sorry about that. Rule of threes. It'll annoy me if I don't have odd numbers top and bottom. Okay, so that one that way. And then I'll do the same for this one. And pop that one about there. Pop a leaf over it. Come on. There you go. Lovely. Oh, I really like that. That's super cute. So the last thing I want to do is just add some blingy bits, I think. Trying to think what blingy bits I want that I can get to without leaning over the camera. Walk around the camera instead. So I've got either some holographic-y, iridescent-y things, or I have got some glue some, what are these called? Yeah, you know, those enamel dots. That's the word I'm looking for. And that's quite a nice grey blue there, actually. I'm wondering whether they might be just a little bit more subtle than the bling. Although I might do the bling as well. Who knows? Like that. And then pop one. I'll pop one there as well. Oops, down in that corner. So I've got my 3. And then I've also got these, which are rather lovely. They're just flat back, iridescent-y pearl things, gems. And I'm just going to pop just a few in amongst the greenery. I want the smaller ones, so I don't want the great big ones. This lipstick's a bit sticky. A bit too sticky. For goodness sake. One there. One up the top there. And then I want to just sneak one on here as well. That gives me a nice odd number. And they're not massively in your face blingy. I mean, it could have been. I could have put some of the really big ones on, and I could have put them in a much more sort of visual place, but I quite like just the subtlety of those. So I'm just going to bring those leaves around a little bit, and I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on the back of there, bring them round, and just catch that end leaf to the top of the page there, and that will just help to secure that where I want it to be rather than too far off the page. And that's it. That's the card that I've made for my sister for her birthday. I've got a strip of the wood effect card left over, so I will probably put that along the bottom there, and then I'll write my stamp happy birthday and write my birthday message there. But that's it for now. So that was my not so quick, it's taken me most of the day, card for my sister's birthday. I've got to get this finished and go and get it up the post box, along with a couple of parcels that are waiting to go out. I've got a wee wish waiting to go out, and a prize that I was supposed to post last week and didn't end up getting to the post office. So I'm going to go and do that now, I think, and then it's back for some Halloween making. So that's it from me for now. I will be back on Friday. It's a big day Friday. We've got Smash That Small Paper Pad, and we've got the first of the Halloween hop with Crafty Michelle. So do come back and check that out, because there's not only my projects to see, but lots and lots of others, and there will be loads of inspiration. I'm looking forward to it. I have actually, for once, got ahead of the game, and I have done my Smash That Small Paper Pad. And like I say, I'm just about to do my Halloween one, so hopefully it will all be up without any issues in plenty of time this month, which is nice. No last minute rushing. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what everybody else has created. So that's it from me for now. I hope you've enjoyed having a look at how I've made my sister's birthday card, and I hope it's given you a bit of inspiration and made you want to go and get your craft stuff out. So I'll see you all again very soon in another crafty video. Bye for now.